Welcome everybody to Real Views. This is our usual weekly Zoom session. This week the topic is monogamy, and is monogamy natural or a societal construct? Now, to start, I'm going to say that I will not be the moderator for this week. This week's moderator is Emmanuel, but I'm going to kick off by sharing a video with us, and then once we looked at the video, that would kick off the conversation. Okay, so I'm going to share the video now, and then we'll go for that.
Sex is designed for one main purpose: procreation. The female reproductive cycle comes around once a month. For a man, it's every day. For each sexual act, the woman's one egg is matched by the man's 120 million sperm cells. And let's do some calculation. Of 120 million sperm cells every one egg a month every month means that it will take only 30 men to impregnate all the women. This points to one clear fact: a man is by nature polygamous. Monogamy and fidelity are unnatural situations promulgated by religious beliefs and social pressures. It's a known fact that women, for the most part, are more emotional than men. But because a man is visual and logical in nature, for him it's just a physical release that's got nothing to do with love. A man loves his woman by protecting and providing for her.
Okay. We got that.
Thank you for watching MTV. This is Let's Talk, where we get to talk about all the issues that affect society. Now, for the last 2 weeks on Let's Talk, we've been looking at the ones.
Can I just ask you, did we all see the video? We just watch the quick clip I showed us.
Yeah, sure.
Yes? Okay, now over to you.
Okay, good day, everyone. Monogamy. Is it natural or is it a societal construct? And what I found very interesting from this video is the whole notion that, okay, monogamy is inspired by religious belief on one hand, and also there is the belief or the notion that it is not possible for a man to stay with just one woman. And just a disclaimer, we are understanding monogamy from the point of view of the marriage of a man and a woman. That is our own standpoint. We acknowledge the fact that we have different forms of marriage. So the question now becomes:
Can I quickly interject? I don't think monogamy is restricted to just heterosexual couples. So it doesn't matter if you are, if it's a gay couple, that's fine. Monogamy is monogamy, and it applies to men and women. That's so we're talking about it on a broader, on a large scale, covering everybody. So you could be in a gay relationship and not be faithful. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we decide to expand. Okay, we're expanding it to mean that monogamy can be for straight, and of course can also be for those in a gay relationship, which is also fine. So the question is monogamy something that is inspired by religious belief, or is it the case that is natural to man? And before the coming of, in the context of the African context, for example, and also in some climes, like the context from where I come from, there's this idea that we married, that as a man, you can have several wives. And if we look at it from the religious perspective, for example, we have several figures in the Bible that had several wives. So the question comes again, is it the case that monogamy is natural, or is it the one that the society constructs? I will just allow the floor to, I will just open up the floor and invite other discussants to lay bare their views. Okay. Andrew, you want to say something?
Right.
Okay.
Can I, does anyone want to go start? Can we all mute our microphones, please? Now, does anyone want to go before I say something? Okay.
Somebody's laughing.
Right. Okay. My views. Okay. Right. You, like you said, you mentioned the Bible, that which again, don't forget that the Bible you talk about is built it's kind of written within, you know, a society setup. So I mean, which means that if you say within the Bible that there was polygamy, it means that it was acceptable within the society at the time. Now, in my opinion, I think that monogamy is possible, but it's not natural. It is. I mean, it's not impossible to be monogamous. So I'm not saying that monogamy is impossible, but I'm just saying it's not natural. And you simply, now anything that is natural would mean that there will be no struggle. So I'll give an example. So if it's natural if it is the case that naturally you are attracted to men or women, and if it is the case that monogamy is natural, it would therefore mean that if you meet one person, you would not even look at any other person or see any other person as attractive or want to be with any other person, which we know is not normal. It's natural, or it's more natural or more normal for whether or not you're in a serious, it's out of discipline you choose to be faithful or loyal, right? And so it is more natural to be in a relationship and still see other people as attractive. That it doesn't mean you want to have sex with them. It just simply means that you find them attractive and you see them. You're not blind, right? So,
sorry, just a question.
Yeah.
Just now you introduced certain words or concepts. You talked about natural, you talked about normal, and also by implication, we may also look at abnormal. So from my point of view, how do you define, or what is your view of natural? What is natural?
Natural would be anything that you are inclined to. So for example, like I said earlier, if you are naturally heterosexual or gay, what you find is if you're heterosexual, you're naturally drawn to people of the opposite sex. And if you're gay, by nature, you'll be drawn to people of the same sex. Now, you don't choose that, right? So that is what I mean by natural, okay? Now, when we talk of normal would then be whatever is acceptable within the society or culture that you live in. Does that make sense? But like I say, my position is I don't think that monogamy is natural. I think it is a societal construct. It's been created by the society, whether to promote family or to like, again, if you look at the history of marriage, I'll tell you this, right? If you look at the history of marriage over the years in different cultures, you will find that at some point polygamy was acceptable. But even before that, if you look at even the Stone Age, it was survival of the fittest, which meant that the strongest, right? The strongest had all the women or had access to the women. Now, by nature, like if you look at the video we just watched, she said, which is kind of true. See, men show their loyalty through provision and protection. Right, so which meant that men who, for some reason, were weak or disabled in the Stone Age or in the ages before and could not protect or provide, or lacked that means that such men were unable to get women, and so the stronger men, the stronger people, sexes in society, meant that they had access to these women, right? So which left some people disadvantaged, if you like. And so as society evolved, and also as they evolved, it then also happened that the like say, when it came from Stone Age, from the strength, it then went to power. Also, all the powerful men had all the women, right? So which meant some men, due to disability or weakness or whatever, were disadvantaged. And so society evolved from that to the institution of marriage, where one man, one woman, to give everyone an equal opportunity. Again, like we're talking monogamy, not just in heterosexual relationships, but in homosexual relationships as well. And so, but I'm just giving history, and so it's not a one-sided. I'm just making it clear that it's just how society has evolved. Okay, do you understand that? Yeah. And so you will see that monogamy is actually a societal construct. People will go, but look at doves. they mate, and they swan, for example. They once they have one mate for the end of their life. Those are swans. If we want to look at the animal kingdom, let's look closer home. Let's look at the silverback gorilla. Right? Let's look at the lions. They are closer to us. Do you see what I mean? Than birds. Okay? That's
Thanks very much for your views. Sooner or later, I just saw a colleague of mine. He will want to say something, Francis Chiku. But before then, have I have a little bit of reservation. I agree with you to a very large extent that monogamy is something is socially constructed. But then I tend to be a little bit circumspect regarding that the fact that men produces a lot of sperm, that it is from the point of view of men being polygamous, that women are also like being reserved. They do not have this urge to marry several men. But I think there are some societies which I'm not very. I think it should be somewhere in. I don't know whether it is Kenya or so. The women also marry several men, and also in some parts of India, the women also marry several men in terms of polyandry. And I also remember while growing up, my cousin sister once told that she had a friend. A friend, as it were, she can't stay a night without not seeing a boyfriend or other guys. So the idea that it is men that want to have women more, for me, I think it is something very, very patriarchal.
No. I can I just interject? I did not say just men. I was just giving a history of marriage, and that was to make the point that monogamy is a societal construct. It was constructed by the society for equality, so that which gave every man, both weak and strong, a fair chance to have a woman and have ready sex or readily available sex. If that makes any sense.
Okay, I will. So permit me let me be like devil's advocate. If you say monogamy is socially constructed, and okay, speaking from the Christian past perspective, how can you? Oh, hello. Hello. What's wrong with my volume? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you. We can
Hello?
hear you.
Okay, you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. So I just want to be like the devil's advocate. If, for example, we say monogamy is socially constructed by the society, then people that are practitioners of Christianity may want to ask, in the beginning, man and woman, he created them. So the question that comes to mind, is it that God made that statement, or the society made a statement that in the beginning, man and woman, he created them? So how do we now make sense of such a statement? I don't know whether anybody wants to say something.
Does anybody want to say something, or can I respond to that? Right. Now, you talk about...
I can say something.
Okay, go on. Okay, go on.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting discussion. I think when you say in the beginning, what beginning do you mean? I think that's the first thing we need to start about. When the life began, are you talking about from the Christian scriptures? What if other sacred books that have different discourses about the origin? For me, I think every society decides how they want to live. So the whole issue of monogamy, as far as I'm concerned, is based on what society thinks. And because suddenly the Western conception has become the dominant, almost the dominant discussion, people are not thinking that's the acceptable way. But I don't think so. I think we need to start looking at our society and ask ourselves what works. Looking at the African society, polygamy was an acceptable form, and it has a whole lot of benefits. Honestly, monogamy for me, it's just some way of Western attitude of control. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Collins, for your inputs. You said in the beginning.
Emmanuel, quickly, Emmanuel, can you turn? I think someone has the radio on where you are. Can they either mute it or can they turn it off or something?
Okay, let me see. Okay. The volume.
Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Better.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, Tamara, you want to say something?
I'm still processing what I want to say.
Okay. Right, let me quickly jump in. Now, Emmanuel, you talked about Christianity again.
Okay.
Now let's look at that. Like Colin just talked about in what beginning are we talking about? You mentioned Christianity and we talked about the scripture. You have to remember, first of all, that the Christianity you talk about was based on a society, right? And Christianity did not start on itself. It started from Judaism, right? It came from Judaism. Now Judaism is built within culture, and it's the same culture, the same Bible the Christians believe in is the same Bible that promoted at some point in the different stories in the Bible polygamy, right? Where do you understand?
Why did they? Sorry, I have to come in. Why did they promote it in the Bible? Like, I really want to know.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Can I give you an example? King David, that's a man described in the Bible as a man after God's own heart. Had how many wives? King Solomon, who again described in the Bible as full of wisdom, had what? 700 wives, 300 concubines. If that's not polygamy, I don't know what polygamy is.
Okay, can I come in? That is an individual, like that guy is not, they didn't promote him for doing that. It's what he decided to do. So for me, it's an individual thing.
But that's true. But the thing is, he is in the Bible and revered again. He is seen as the epitome of wisdom. That's number one. King Solomon. Let me land. Tama, let me land. Now, okay. King David again, as a man after God's own heart, again had more than one wife. That's by the way. Now, when we go back, talk about the beginning, he said God created male and female. Now, let me tell you something. Do you know, just like in African culture, in different cultures, you have different stories or myths of origins of human beginnings, right? Within Yoruba culture, for example, you have the story of Oduduwa coming down sending his son coming down to earth, right? With a cockerel and sand, and the cockerel spread the sand and the sand became land, right? It's the same way Judaism had a story of creation. That's where Adam and Eve. So if you actually look closely, the Adam and Eve story is not a true story. It is actually a mythology. Research, find out. So this issue of Christianity we keep talking about, you understand, Christianity within itself is built on society. Society prescribes what acceptable within Christianity. And I'll give you an example. Now, within our African culture, Christianity says that the women must cover their hair. If you come to the West, same Christianity, women are allowed to open their. No, let me land. Don't get emotional. The same church.
No, brother, you're wrong.
I'm not.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Can I finish?
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
There's nowhere in the Bible.
Now can I finish? Let me finish. Let me finish. Can I finish? Can you let me talk? All right. Okay. Now, it is only in recent times, if you remember in the 80s growing up, we know that women were not allowed to wear trousers to church, right or wrong. Those of us who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, right? Women were not allowed to wear trousers going to church, at least go as a Catholic. I remember that. Women were not allowed to wear trousers. Isaac, we grew up together. You grew up within a very strict Christian home. You know this. It's only in recent times. That we're now taking leads from do you see what I mean? We're now learning things from the West and picking things and realizing that it is not the hair that makes you a Christian or the pants, a trouser that you're wearing as a woman that makes you a Christian. So what's my point? My point is that even Christianity that we define that we use, that you are basing our definition of monogamy on, is built within a society and it's controlled by the society. The same Christianity, I'll give you again history. You heard of the past, right? When we talked about when the church and the state were wrong, right or wrong. Do you remember? When the Pope was also seen as the head of state, right? The church and the state, which led to the breaking away of Anglican Church from the Catholic Church. Do you remember? Which again, the church, even the church then was controlled by society. So what are we talking about?
Okay.
You can go on.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. Tamara, you want to say something? Then after Tamara, then Francis Chuku want to say something. Okay, over to you, Tamara.
I had to cut you short, Andrew, because you said that the church are not allowed. There's nowhere in the Bible where they said a woman is not allowed to wear a woman should cover their hair. They only made mention your hair is your glory. Then in terms of the one where you said they have to wear trousers, they picked it up and all that. The same thing, they said a woman should not wear a man's clothes. And for me, this is my view. What is a man's clothes? How can they classify or identify a man's clothes?
Okay, can I go on?
Let me just say something.
Okay.
Identifying a man's clothes is part of what he was saying, that culture plays into our Christian beliefs, into our Christian value systems and other things, right? The culture you comes from defines a man's clothes. Like in the Delta part of Nigeria, for instance, men tie wrapper, while in other parts, men don't tie wrapper. And I know that in the past, trousers was originally for women, not men. But over time,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I think like say more than 500 years ago or more. But origin of trousers was from the women. But things has changed. But if we look at Christianity critically, a lot of things comes from our culture. Not even Christianity, everything about life comes from culture. The culture defines your kind of religion. Christianity too can still become part of our African culture, which is okay, not bad. But in terms of monogamy, so sorry to cut you short. You were saying something, but in terms of monogamy, I just think based on good conscience, you can only reasonably love one person.
Yeah,
and it creates a kind of peace of mind and balance. I mean, one woman is enough to give you enough headache than having two or three. You should manage one that you have instead of using your hand to drag 3 or 4, 5 things because our ancestors did it that way.
Yeah, Siva, let me ask you a question. What I'm doing now is that I'm just like more or less playing like the devil's advocate. Instead, from a reasonable perspective, that a man can only love just one woman at a time. Then, but when we go to those that follow, those of the Islamic faith, they tell us, or the Quran tells us that the man can marry 4 wives, and the Quran tries to give the instances in which the man can marry 4 wives, for the wife, and also to love the wife equally. And I've seen several of my friends that profess Islam. They tell me that they love the wives equally. So how will you react to that, Siva? Because people are different, right, Siva?
Yeah, but
that's why if I can chip into that before sorry. I think one of the things we need to understand is the cultural dimension of religion. Religion is not, it's not an abstract. It's based on some social construct. Okay. And that's the problem of Christianity in Africa. Christianity came to Africa and basically said everything about our culture is wrong. And that's the way of subjugating the African, destroy their mind, feed them with something which they think is best. Now, you go to the village, people are cutting down trees and say these are trees where witches and wizards are flying. Come on. Sorry. So I think we need to look at it. So the whole issue about how many women can you actually love? The question is that, how do you define love? What is love? Who defines love? So when you say a man can only love one wife, for me, it doesn't make sense. The whole issue of what is love? How do you define love for yourself? And then in societies where men marry more than one wife, who is complaining? So if in a society, the society allows you to marry more than one wife, for God's sake, go ahead. If the society says, no, you can only marry one wife, then do what your society say. I don't believe in generalization. And that's the whole problem I have with this discourse, where we're trying to use a societal discourse or, from a specific, area or region to generalize in the whole world. It will not work. Christianity in itself, just like the other speaker tells, is based on Judaism. And then look at how it evolved. I've had the privilege of going to Israel not more than maybe 2 or 3 times. And on one of those occasions, I spent about 4 weeks in Israel and understood exactly what it means by the Sabbath. I was staying at the Hilton in Beersheba. It has, on the Sabbath, the rich Jews come into the hotel, and they stay on Friday evening till Saturday. And you can't even touch the lift. They have what they call a Sabbath lift. It goes from one floor to the other. So you enter the lift and you just stay there for the whole age till you stop in floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, till it gets to floor 12. Then you come down. Because you cannot touch the lift. Because if you touch the lift, it's work. It happens today in Israel. That's the concept of work. So when you read the Bible and say, no, you can't do work on the Sabbath, you will not understand because you've not lived in that society. I was in Israel, so I understood better what we were talking about when they say you cannot work. So it's the society. So I don't think we should generalize. The whole issue of marriage, parenting, and rearing kids are based on society. In the Western world, where a lot of you are, it is assumed that you should not use corporal punishment. I don't know why they call it corporal punishment, But back home,
corporal punishment means you punish by hitting, and
that's what I don't know why they call it corporal punishment. But
let me just quickly clear that. It comes from Latin corpus, which means the body. That's what it's called, Corpus Christi in the Catholic Church, the body of Christ. So corpus, it comes from corpus, which means the body. So corporal, just so that everyone knows that.
You understand? Okay, so for me, the bigger question is the Western conception talked about child abuse, child rights, and all those. But we back home believe that this is a way of disciplining our kids. So do we now suddenly say that if back home in Africa, we no longer should not punish our kids because of the way the West have said about it? No. Everything in life is based on your society. So you work according to your society. The same thing with marriage. Marriage is based on societal values and societal orientation. That's what I think.
Okay, let me answer Chidoze's question and link it to what you're saying. Right? Marriage is based on societal values and societal stuff. True and fine. But if we look at the Quran said, if you can marry more than one wife, you're good to do that. But make sure you love them equally. Make sure you love them equally. Right? The Quran is not stupid to add that clause to it. But is it possible? Is it possible to love two things equally? Let's even forget about women. Is it possible to love even your children, 2 children, to love those 2 equally?
Yes.
It's not good. It's not. Let me finish. I'll allow you speak. It's not possible to love 2 women equally. Even if you love the 2 women equally. Okay. How can you prove it? You get something for this, you don't get something for the other one. It creates a kind of unhealthy environment within a single family. Because there's no way one wife would believe you love her the same way you love the other one. And most times they even notice within the family that, oh, this one is his beloved. Even the Muhammad has Fatima as his beloved. So for having Fatima as his beloved, we even tell you that Fatima's status was different from every other wife status within Muhammad's family. So loving equally, it's kind of very difficult. And if we now relate it to reality, when the different wives start saying that, oh, you don't love my child like the way you love the other child, or you don't love me like the way you love the other woman. It kind of start creating some kind of tension within the family, which now breeds into the general society where there's division. This wife will look at his own children, this is our own is different from their own. That's how it spreads into society, where people start saying, oh, we are this, so we are different from them, instead of start looking at things that we are one, we'll share as one, we are the same, one and the same people. But if we now bring it to culture, you say there are so many cultural practices that are good within Africa culture and other culture, but there are certain practices that are not good. Take for instance, acceptable part of culture doesn't make it right. Killing of twins in Calabar was wrong. What was their culture? What is right about killing of twins? There's nothing right about killing of twins. There's nothing right about doing human sacrifices. There's nothing right in doing a lot of so many cultural practices we do in Africa. So if we come in contact with the other culture, like Christian culture or whatever, and we blend the two together and say, okay, some certain part of our culture are not good, we'll do away with those culture. But that doesn't mean that we'll do away with all our culture. Monogamy, to me, creates a kind of healthy family where everybody seems to be okay and happy. I mean, you cannot be, every home is not perfect. No family is perfect. They have their own challenges. But the challenges you have within monogamy are more healthier than the challenges you have within a polygamous home. So if we look at it from this angle, you understand that we saw our culture as, okay, we have this culture, but coming in contact with Christian culture, we look at it that, okay, it's more better, not even from Christian perspective, but from natural law perspective. If I will use natural law for this, for good of the conscience, for good of man, for good of everybody involved, for the good of the child, for the good of the women, having one wife, to me, create a kind of stable environment and a stable family structure.
Yes, Shiva, sorry, can I just come in? Like, in terms of monogamy, I want us to beam our lens into the Western society and also other climes. When we talk of monogamy, you also agree with me, a man may decide to be monogamous or polygamous, and the same thing with a woman too, right? A woman may decide to stick with one man or several men, or maybe if the woman is in a gay relationship. Now, you said monogamy maintains, you said monogamy is positioned in such a way that there is a balance in the society. And now, when we beam our searchlight into the Western society or other climes, it depends either on the man, from the point of view of the man, or from the point of view of the woman. Maybe from that of the male perspective, from the man perspective, he marries one wife and then he can have several mistresses, right? Or the woman is with one man and he can have other men. So when you look at it from this, what kind of balance are you talking about? Okay, for example, as the culture is evolving and as the society is evolving, now in the West, where I live, for example, in Belgium, we have the gay rights, the gay pride, and all this kind of celebration. Many people, somebody we have asked the question that if gay rights can also be celebrated, why is it that we cannot also celebrate polygamy or polyandry? Because just as one of our colleagues said, Collins, there, it also depends on what the society defines to be that which is stable. So how can you justify that monogamy brings stability in the society? How can we just generalize? I will ask Shiva, maybe also ask
from the angle I'm looking at it from is that even if within every relationship, not just within straight, within every relationship, LGBT and straight, whatever, right? If you have a relationship with one person, right? That relationship, there's joy and happiness between both of you because there's connection between both of you. But when each of you, whenever each within that relationship feels threatened or feels that you are talking to somebody or somebody outside is trying to take his place, even if he's a mistress or a master somewhere or whatever, or is a second wife or a third wife or whatever, it breeds jealousy, it breeds tension. I don't know if you understand, but if you have just one relationship and your husband or your wife knows that she's the one and only, she's comfortable, she's happy, there's no jealousy. But you believe, I mean, you agree with me that in every culture, right? In every culture, if you have a relationship and that person, you know that that person has a mistress or a master somewhere, you will feel jealous and there's going to be a pain within the heart.
Can I come in quickly?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you see, I'm just going to quickly hammer on this last point you made. You talk about this jealousy but that is because society has prescribed monogamy. And so, which means that the mind or the person has now be made to believe that monogamy is the ideal, and so that's where jealousy creeps in. Now we've seen situations. Yeah, don't start shaking.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Hello,
Isaac, talk.
hi everybody. Sorry, I'm late.
We'll come to that. Just now, the thing is
No. I do not agree with what you're just trying to say, so I have to just put
let can I land? Can I land?
Land.
Okay.
Thank you, Chineke.
Now the thing is this, right? Isaac wants to talk as well, but let me finish my point. The thing is this, right? Now, if we looked at like we're not looking at it, we're talking generally now, but we also know that there are individual cases. Now I've read somewhere in Kenya where a woman had 2 husbands and they were happy, everyone knew their role. Also, if you look back in different cultures, particularly now where polygamy is acceptable, there's been peace. The jealousy has not really been there. But again, remember that as well, as human beings, we are possessive. So jealousy becomes more obvious in societies where monogamy is described as the only way to be in a long-term relationship. So we see that it still goes back to the point where I've said, it goes back to what we said, that monogamy is not natural, it is a societal construct.
True, I will agree with that. It might not be natural society construct, which is most of our culture are kind of construct, right? But
okay, can I say something now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry I came late. I'm a bit under the weather. Sorry, everyone. But I've been listening to what everybody has been saying. One thing I don't agree is when you say monogamy is a societal construct, because this is why. I think, like the other speaker said, distributing or saying that you love different people equally, even with mothers to children, even with with pets, like there's no way you would love a lot of different people or different things equally. There might be something you love about this one or something you love about the other one, but there's no way you love everybody equally. And because of that breeds the kind of jealousy that they are talking about. I believe that, like, we spoke about this thing the last time when we said the polygamy issue stemmed from a whole lot of circumstances that came about, in the sense that, we spoke about people who said, oh, you know what, I married this wife, married that wife, and that shows I'm wealthy. That gives me a feeling of wealth. It came from those kind of things. Now, the Bible, the Quran, they have their views on monogamy and polygamy. And like you said, the Quran says, as long as you love them equally. That clause put there was very strong for a very strong reason, because they know it's not possible or totally possible to love people equally. But if you can manage it in the sense that the people, when you talk about loving things equally, it means for some people to be like taking care of them equally. Make sure, okay, they are given the right basic needs for them to live in peace, they are fed, they are clothed. That to them can be defined as love. But there is no how you will have that emotional attachment to every single person equally. It doesn't work. So monogamy was supposed to be, this is your one person, this is your rib, quote unquote, from the Bible. Now, this is your rib. You're supposed to put in your everything, your feelings, your resources. Every single focus should be on this one person. If you decide to now divide it into many people for different reasons, or because you feel like, oh, you cannot stay with one woman, and you know that you are, how do I call it, you could always be looking outside. And I don't feel that some of these rules came out of, okay, because I have one wife and I feel like one wife is not enough for me, I'll still be going outside and chasing concubines. Now do the responsible thing, marry them. That's how I feel those kind of rules came in. But the monogamy to me is more natural than the polygamy thing was more. I feel it is more societal. It's more like you said, generate a show of status. Okay, I can marry this person. I can marry 5 wives. I can take care of them. I have 100 children. I have cows. I have camel. It's like a show of status. If you can take care of them, fine. But it bridges that jealousy, to be honest, from each one of them, because like when they say, sorry if I'm jabbering, if I'm my dots are not connecting neatly, but it's like when they say if your eyes causes you to sin, you should cut it off. That kind of statement. Fine, if you know that you go outside and you cannot do without cheating, and then you decide to bring another one because maybe the last one is boring you, and you now want to get a new wife, or for some reason you feel, oh, you want to take care of this person as well, and you bring in the person. The last person will feel a certain type of, I don't know what if to call it resentment, but there's a way the last person you left to marry another one, even in the initial stage, even if they agree to do the marriage, even if they agree for you to bring the new wife, there is some tiny resentment that is always in there. And that can bridge in a lot of hatred that can turn into violence, that can turn into death or anything. That's why you have cases where you say one wife went to poison the child of another wife. Random things that come about like that. Yes, society has made it in such a way that it is acceptable that yes, people can be polygamous. It is not like a rule that was set from heaven above. It's something that just it's a circumstantial thing that just happened and we have accepted it. But I feel is not totally right in the sense that saying that it is much better than monogamy. I don't agree with saying that polygamy is much better than monogamy, and monogamy is more of a societal. I feel it's the other way around, to be very honest.
Right,
That's my opinion.
yeah, Chizaba, thank you very much. Just 2 questions for you.
Yes.
You know, one, the first question is, what do you mean by loving equally? There's nothing like loving equally. The key thing is that you love. There's no way you can love equally. You love. So you can't have the same kind of love. There's nothing wrong with that. It's our society that brings the whole idea of jealousy. Oh, he loves me more than this or that. But ideally, just hold on. Let me just finish. I'll just be very quick. That's one. So you don't need to love equally. The key is love. Are you getting what your fair share? The second thing you need to consider is, I think the Quran did not say you need to love equally. I think it said you should marry more than one wife if you can provide. The operational word there is provide. It's not love. The Quran did not say love. I don't know if there's anybody who is expert in the scriptures. I mean, the Quran, they can tell us it's not love. It said if you can provide for your wife. Then the final thing I need to say about it is that if you look back to our African society, there was a time where the wife will tell the husband, let me go and marry a second wife for you, or marry a second wife, because the society thinks it's acceptable. So it is the first wife who say, please go and marry the second wife. The second wife comes and says, please go and marry the third one. Possibly because we need more hands to do some work. So it's a society that demands these things.
That's what I'm saying, circumstantial. Now you
not circumstantial.
It's a circumstantial thing. Society is still circumstantial, because
exactly.
for anything that happens to do in society, it has to be something that costs.
Right, Isaac, thank you very much, guys. Sorry to cut you there. I just wanted to kind of to hear other people's sides, and we just have to kind of wait for each other to come in. One person finishing, the other person come in. Isaac, so back to the moderator, Emmanuel, and then Isaac.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I've been listening to all the conversation. Well, I want to say something. I'm from a Christian home, and where I grew up, I knew that God created all of us in His image. So there's every tendency of jealousy in us. God is a jealous God. And another thing, if you feel that. That is why if you cheat on your partner, sometimes you're worried, you're scared to tell that person I've cheated on you. It's not because the person will beat you or do something to you, but because that jealousy is in us already. You can't be bold enough to face your partner and tell this person, see what I have done, because that person will feel betrayed. You can't see a girl or approach a lady and say, hey, I'm a cheat, but I want to have relations with you. She won't even agree with you because you've already ended the relationship at the very beginning. So I feel it's different strokes for different folks. It depends on our upbringing, our culture, and religion. For the Christians, they think if you can tell a strong Christian that marrying a second wife is not a sin, it's not bad. So you can tell a Muslim man, a devoted Muslim, that not marrying a second wife is a sin. No, we can see the discrepancies here. Everyone with their own belief. We have the Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, and also the Muslim society. So it depends on how you see it. But because I feel if you are maybe focused on your partner will be more like feel more safe. But if you tell this person that, see, I want to cheat on you, or I'm doing this on you, or maybe you tell your partner I've cheated on you, he or she won't ask you, oh, where is the thing you used? How did it go? How was it? Did you enjoy it? No, because that selfishness is already there. That selfish, how do I even put it? That jealousy is there. The person will feel very bad that you have done it. So I don't think monogamy is a societal thing. It is natural because we were all created in the image of God, and God is a jealous God. So it's an inborn tendency that whenever your partner cheats on you, you definitely feel bad or you want to back out of it. So I feel it's a natural thing. That's my own opinion for now.
Sorry to butt in again. Just to answer what Mr. Imo said about as this first wife would tell the second wife go and marry. It is because, like you said, society made it so much of a norm. You said something about society made monogamy like a norm or like a hidden rule. It is that society made it so much of a norm that the wife self will even feel embarrassed not to tell her husband go and marry another for added hands, like you said, quote unquote. So it's just like how we said what happens now where they say, oh, your husband beats in your house, oh, don't talk, don't tell anybody, sit down there and do it for the kids. You know that normally it's not normal for you to sit down in an abusive relationship, but because society makes you feel like you shouldn't complain, you are there seated in that place, and you encourage every other person who's going through that same situation, oh, don't worry, don't talk, don't do it for the kids. Circumstantial things are just, how do I call it, that spirals, or that that has a ripple effect that just goes and happens and becomes a norm. So monogamy to me is more natural. Polygamy to me is more circumstantial. That is what I like he said, everybody each to their own. I don't have a problem with anybody marrying many wives or not, as long as you can manage it and everybody is fine. But I have a problem with saying polygamy is more natural than monogamy. That's where my own stance is.
Moderator, can I just quickly say something? Emmanuel, can I jump in, please, as moderator? Okay. Now, if you can see the charts, I want you to look. First of all, Philip has posted a link to the Independent News, and the links is talking about legalizing women marrying more than one man in South Africa. Now that's one. Now we're talking about this, what the Quran says. And again, Philip has put something, and what the Quran actually says is, it says, if you fear that you might not treat the orphans justly, then marry the women that seem good to you, 2 or 3 or 4, right? And if you fear that you will not be able to treat them justly, then marry only one. Now, it goes on to say, or marry from among those whom your right hands possess. This will make it more likely that you will avoid injustice. So back to the point that the Quran says that you should love them equally. It doesn't say talk of love. It talks about justice. It says treat everyone fairly. So let's clarify that. I just wanted to thank you very much, Philip. Thank you for that.
Okay,
so treat everyone else treat everyone fairly. If you love one person more than the other, there's no way you're going to treat everyone fairly. Let's be very realistic.
You can.
If you love one person more than the other, there's a tendency that you will treat that person you love with more attention than everybody else, and it will be noticeable. That's what I'm saying. No, why is it that when we talk about polygamy, everybody seems it's acceptable, but when you talk about polyandry, like thinking about a woman with more than one man as marriage, it messes with people's heads. Why does it?
Can I answer that? Can I answer that quickly? Let me explain to you. See, when it comes to polyandry, it's acceptable. It's not, people frown at it because of practicality. Now, if a man has more than one woman, for example, we know who the father of the children are, right? But if a woman has more than one man, the paternity of the children become questionable. Who owns it? Man A or man B?
But
So it's about practicality.
No, but the mother knows who owns the child.
The mother cannot know without DNA.
No, the mother knows who owns. Trust me. Every mother knows whose child, even if they are mixed up with.
Even if she slept with two men in the same day when she was pregnant.
Trust me, she knows. Trust me, she knows. I'm telling you.
Okay, now instinct. Can we be clear that instinct is not knowledge? Let's be clear with that. Instinct that you feel instinctual about.
I'm standing here to tell you a woman will know. It's not about instinct.
Okay.
It's not about instinct. So now I'm now saying it because it does your head in to think about a woman with many men, because you just feel a woman is supposed to not have as many, like you were talking about keys and padlock that time. But a man is, you know what, it's okay for a man to have, he's the key to many padlocks. You know where that there's a, I don't, without sounding overly feminist, it is that acceptability that one thing seems to be okay, but the other one isn't. And let us be very honest, most of these laws, quote unquote, started with men because, you know, women were always suppressed and it was okay for them to have these laws and make it and whatever. The same way it was okay for women not to go to school in those days, but men can go to school. These things are circumstantial, but it is very, very easy to frown at one aspect because you feel it's not normal, but it's okay for the other one to be not. I don't know if anybody gets where I'm coming from. These things are circumstantial.
Okay, sorry, let me just come in. Philip, you want to say something? I see.
Yeah. Let me just, I mean, I just want to chip in regarding one interesting point that Chizoba made, which is about the distinction or the similarity between love and justice. So the fact that I love someone doesn't mean that I don't want to bring the person to justice or you cannot treat people fairly. That's my own. So for instance, the fact that I love my mom doesn't mean that I'll see my mom maltreating somebody at the gate and I'll tell my mom that, yeah, I love you, it's right, continue. I mean, it's part of the love that I have for the person that will make me even make her be disposed to justice. So I think what could happen within polygamy in that context is to say that if you are putting one piece of meat for everybody in the house, then let everybody have a piece of meat. If you are sending a woman's child to this school, send all children to those kind of schools. That, for me, can create a sense of justice. Even if in terms of your emotional disposition, you are more disposed to the person. That is not to say that you can have an absolute sense of justice within a family. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying even within monogamy, your affection is different. You see that some parents are even disposed towards the child more than their husband or something like that. You understand? So it's a bit difficult even within monogamy. But you can ensure that there's a bit of fairness, a sense of justice, you know, within the family setting. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand. There can be a bit of fairness, to be honest. You made a very, very good point. But the thing about what I'm saying is that it is not entirely 100% easy to do that. Like you have the Joseph with his coat of many colors. Regardless of how many children that his father had, he still liked Joseph as his favorite. In a lot of stories, I'm now using Bible stories, and not only Bible stories, a lot of situations, even real life situations, you find out that people with so many wives and children, there's this favorite, and there must be something, there's a reason why that person is a favorite. I'm not saying you cannot do everything equally with every child, but there's a tendency that you will favor, like they give you a cup of soup, a plate of soup. There's a tendency that if you this person's soup might be more, the plate might be fuller for this person than the other person. There's just always that tendency to treat the one that you like better with some kind of favoritism, and the others will notice. Even if it is not that noticeable, they will want to notice it because they'll be putting their eye on this favorite person you want to see how you are going to relate to that person, you know, compared to everybody else. So it bridges that resentment, and which brings because I know a lot of people that are married to more than one wife, and they'll show you what they want to show you, like social media, and tell you what they want to tell you. But in their house, they are not even as happy as they can't even sleep in their house. I know for one, when I was in Meduguri, I served in Meduguri, there was a school for the blind. Sorry, that I used to go and see a friend of mine. There's a man that will come in there in Meduguri. He will drive his car in the night into the compound and sleep inside his car and office and lock up the whole doors and be sleeping in his car. One day I asked somebody, why is this man always coming to this place? They said that the man has 4 wives at home and he cannot even rest in the house. So he comes here to sleep every night. Do you know the kind of stress it is to be? But you could have just made your life easier.
Let me just add to what you've said, that got the other guy saying if a woman has more than one wife, then you won't know who is the father of the children. If there's love, who cares who is the father of the children? You guys live in love, right? If we can accept that it's acceptable for a man to have so many wives, and we think it's our religion that is making us to think monogamy is like the standard, then we should be able to be open to accept that a woman can have more than one husband, and they should be able to love themselves and not think about the children, because where there's love, you don't think about anything. You just love yourself, you love all the children, and you guys live in peace and harmony, right?
May God bless you for this, what you just said. So it's as simple as that. It can be unacceptable, but if you want to agree to one thing, still agree to the rest. Finish.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's all love.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid our time is almost up. I wish we could continue in this conversation. I wish, but just 2 minutes to go. So I think, Andrew, you want to say something for next week? Yeah? You mute yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
I wish this discussion can go on.
Look, this discussion can go on forever.
Yeah,
it can go on, but it's